Do you wonder if others are dealing with the same project management challenges as you? Not sure where to turn for guidance and leadership? Office hours are in session as we discuss project management and PMOs with global leaders, hearing their story and learning their secrets to success. Our goal is to empower you and help you elevate your PMO and project management career to new heights. Welcome back to Project Management Office Hours with your host, PMO Joe.
Welcome, everyone, to Project Management Office Hours. We're the #1 live project management radio show in the U.S. Who knows, maybe even the world. And we're broadcasting to you live today from the Phoenix Business RadioX studios in Tempe, Arizona. I'm your host, PMO Joe. And for the next hour or so, we're going to be talking project management, PMOs, and more with our special guest. Before we jump into the show, just want to give a couple of announcements. The ASU, Arizona State University Project Management Summit, is coming up on September 29th. This is a virtual conference that is online and free for all to attend. They're closing in, I believe, on about 3,000 attendees. So it is a great event. Some of the speakers and presenters, Elizabeth Heron, Billy Moape, Kim Wasson, and many, many more. Strongly recommend everybody go out and look for that. Also, VP MMA, our nonprofit organization that supports veterans, is a partner for that event. And we have a track within the conference dedicated to veterans. So we have several speakers from the ASU Pat Tillman Veteran Center. We have the director of Arlington National Cemetery and a few more speakers who are veterans and active duty personnel. To register for that event, you can go out to whova.com/web/ASUPM_2021-09. Or you can just do a Google search on ASU PM Summit and you'll see it there as well. Also want to announce that the PMO Global Alliance and the PMO Global Awards has reached the semifinal stage, with only 15 PMOs remaining, battling it out to be named the 2021 World PMO of the Year by the PMO Global Alliance. And there are several other awards beyond PMO of the Year: PMO Leader of the Year, Software of the Year, Volunteer of the Year, and PMO Influencer of the Year. And once again, I'm honored and humbled to have been named one of the top 15 finalists for PMO Influencer of the Year, with the 3 finalists being named on August 31st. So stay tuned, and we'll see if I'm fortunate enough to make the final 3. Also want to thank our sponsors, the PMO Squad and the PMO Leader. A reminder to everyone to go visit projectmanagementofficehours.com, our show website, and you can see all of our upcoming episodes, as well as listen to past episodes and provide your feedback on who you'd like to have us on as a guest. Well, I mentioned the PMO Global Awards and the PMO Global Alliance, and I'm very excited today to have our special guest with us, Americo Pinto. Welcome, Americo.
Hello, Joey. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you today.
Yeah, Americo, if you could take a moment just to introduce yourself to the listeners, just so they can learn a little bit more about you before we jump into our discussion, that would be great as well.
Yes, sure. In fact, I live in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and I've been working with project management and PMOs for more than 25 years. Actually, most of the time as a consultant, but also as an entrepreneur. I own a company, a consulting company in Latin America for 15 years. And a few years ago, I decided to sell my business and focus on an idea, actually. And the idea is the PMO Global Alliance community. And today I dedicate, I could say, most of my time to this organization that is something that I could say that make me very, very happy, right? So my experience is really focused on PMOs in the last 12 years. I started a doctorate on PMOs in France a few years ago, and I have some books published on PMOs. So PMOs are my passion, and it's a pleasure for me to be in contact with many PMO leaders around the world every year through PMO Global Alliance projects, but also with some consulting projects that I still have. So that's it in a general overview.
Yes, and it's great to have you on and to understand your story and the journey that you've taken. As a judge for the PMO Global Alliance, I know how impactful the awards are, and to see the kind of the growth and evolution, right, of the competition from year one to where we're at now. The PMOs are much better, right? They're seeing the improvements in the awards competition, I think, is being taken more seriously. What's your experience been on the evolution of that? Do you think it's getting more mature, and do you think it's something in the industry that PMOs are really looking towards to try to, I guess, brag a little bit, right, about the good work that they're doing with their organization?
Yes. What I see, Joey, is that there are two things that we can consider. The first one is that there is an obvious increase of maturity in many different regions. So there are some regions that we could say that we can find mature PMOs easily. But there are other regions that, of course, there are mature PMOs, but not in the same quantity. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So now I can see that it's changing in some way, right? And it's interesting because PMO is not something new, right? I couldn't say that PMO is a trend because it's not. It's something that is very consolidated in many companies. But PMOs are changing strongly, I think, in the last years. And they are becoming much more connected to the business, connected to results. And this way, they are becoming more important for many organizations. So I still see PMOs as something that will be important for companies for a lot of years from now. There is a lot of opportunities for improvement, in the horizon.
Yeah, and you mentioned the different regions. I'm always intrigued, being in the States, that the United States has done not well, right, in the global awards historically, but the Middle East is fantastic, right? I mean, every time I judge Kuwait or the UAE or somebody in the Middle East, it seems like the maturity level that's being presented far exceeds what we're getting delivered from the U.S. Is there any insight on that? I mean, what do we need to do here in the States to put forward a representative that can do much better?
Yeah, that's something interesting, and it's what happens every year in the PMO Global Awards is a consequence of the spirit of this competition, because differently from the most traditional competitions that we have today in the world, at the PMO Global Awards we have only one representative for each country, right? And there is no doubt that we have a lot of mature PMOs in the US or in the UK, much more than in other regions. But when you have only one representative, and some of them, they are selected in national and local competitions, the chances of finding great PMOs everywhere is really high, so it's not a coincidence that we, in the last 3 years, we had the winners came from other regions, other countries that were not the US or the Western Europe, for example. And I think it's really good because it shows to the world that there is a lot to be learned, from many different companies, many different people. Diversity is the key, I believe. I think it's something really good for the global community.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you touched on another thing, too. If I remember right, it was maybe 2 years ago, the winner was from Brazil, and part of their presentation was they had won a competition to be named the top in Brazil and go represent Brazil.
Yes. That's something that we are working on, because it's supposed that we can have up to 64 countries represented at the competition. 16 for Europe, 16 for the Americas, 16 for Africa, and 16 for Asia Pacific. since the beginning, when we started with this initiative in 2018, the idea is that we could motivate local communities to create national competitions, because this way it's really good, because you will encourage local people, local companies to participate. So they will be motivated to participate. They will be motivated to learn from this experience. And of course, the winner will represent their countries in the global competition. So in 2008, we had only 1 or 2 countries with national competitions. This year, we are closing this edition with 7 new national competitions. And for next year, probably we will have more than 10 countries with national competitions. Indonesia, India, we are starting new local competitions in these countries. So it's amazing, and I'm really happy with that, because I believe a global community really makes sense when you have some local action. And so when I see that, it's exactly what I thought when I started with, these awards and the PMO Global Alliance, and I'm really, really happy to see what's happening. So this way, some of the nominees, the representatives, they are really strong. For example, in Ukraine, we work with PMI Ukraine, and in the last 2 years, the Ukrainian representative was in the top 4 in Europe. Mm-hmm. In Portugal, we work with IPMA. So depending on the country, on the region, we have great associates, great partners. So that's the idea, synergy.
Yeah, it's a fantastic vision, and as a member of the industry, thank you for getting that going, because it really does provide the focus on the organizational component of project management. Whereas historically, as an industry, we've always focused on the individual, right? Get a PMP or get an Agile certification, right? It's the individual, but really the individual works within the PMO, right? And the PMO collectively does that. And we don't really have large organizations globally like a PMI that support that. So you started it all, right? And I think hats off to you and congratulations to doing that, because it's really been a major success, I think, for the industry as a whole.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's, I did a LinkedIn post yesterday and I had said, hey, everybody knows Americo, but do you know Americo, right? Right. We know of you, we know who you are, but let's learn a little bit more about you, the person, right? If we go back to when you started your career, and I believe you had mentioned it was in project management, how did you get started, right? Or did you roll out of college one day and say, I think I'm going to be a project manager?
No. Actually, my career in project management is quite interesting, especially in the beginning. Before working with project management, I had another profession. Actually, I was a professional actor in Brazil.
Wow.
Yes. So till 23 years old, I was working as an actor. It's something that I really like, But I decided to give up, right, and start in the technology area. I didn't know if I would have future, in the arts. So I decided to switch to another area, and I started my career on the big 5 consulting companies. So I worked in 2 of them for 10 years. And after that, I decided to leave and found my first company, actually. So, and at that moment, something very interesting happened, because I've already been working with project management for a long time. But at that moment, I met someone here in Brazil. It was an American, Paul Dinsmore. Paul Campbell Dinsmore was a fellow of PMI, a great person, and unfortunately last year he passed away. Yep. And actually at that moment I met him, and for the first time I heard about PMI. He came to Brazil in the 80s. and he was living in Brazil. He was the guy that brought project management ideas and PMI to Brazil in the 80s. So possibly the current generation don't know the importance that he has for us in Brazil. It's a pity. But anyway, because of him, I found PMI, and it was something very interesting because I had a friend at that time, and she called me and said, Americo, I would like to go with me in a meeting that we will have today because we are starting a chapter. It's the second chapter in the country for an organization, project management. And I said, okay, I can go with you. And I was there, and people are saying that they should elect the new leadership of this new chapter that was being founded. And there were exactly, if I'm not wrong, 9 people or something like that. And they wanted to have at least 2 candidates for each position. And there was one position, programs vice president, that there was only one candidate. And they said, Americo, could you be the second candidate? And I said, okay, why not? So at the end of the votation, I was elected with 99% of the votes. I think actually people hate the other guy, So I can say that I had a meteoric career in PMI because in my first day in PMI, I became a vice president, right? So today in Brazil, we have 19 chapters. This chapter has more than 5,000 members, but it was in 1999. So it was another time, but it's funny how things started. And I stayed. I worked as an officer at Rio de Janeiro PMI chapter for 6 years, with 3 different groups, and after that I started to work with PMI internationally. So that's how I met PMI and project management for the first time. It was a coincidence, right?
Well, now I know why you're so comfortable with all your speaking that you do, because you started out as an actor, right? You're used to getting on stage and being the focus.
Yeah, I could be in Hollywood right now, but I prefer to stay here, right, with you.
And then your PMI career, it started that way, but it evolved, right? And it grew over time. And then in 2012, the winner of the PMI Distinguished Contribution Award, which is a great honor to receive.
Yes, it was due to a project that I started with PMI Rio de Janeiro as a volunteer in 2003. It was named PMSurvey.org. It was a kind of benchmarking study, and it started with 40 companies in Brazil. But I coordinated voluntarily this project for 11 years. At the end of this period, it was really big. We had like 4,000 companies, and it was involving 9 different countries, PMI chapters in 9 different countries, and I was the global coordinator. We had a very interesting website at that moment, pmsurvey.org, where you could find a kind of BI tool, so you could create, reports comparing your company with the benchmarking. It was something really nice, but it was too much big, and for me it was impossible to continue as a volunteer. So PMI GOC at that time, they decided to take it for them and take care of this initiative. So I received the PMI Distinguished Contribution Award. But 3 years late, I think in 2014 or 15, PMI decided to absorb this initiative with the Pulse of Profession report. Mm-hmm. So the PMSurvey.org doesn't exist anymore. It's a shame. There are many people that still miss it, but it was how I started to have some involvement with PMI in the international level.
Yeah, and I think a common theme that we see amongst a lot of our guests is the ability to maybe step outside their comfort zone and take a risk of some sort within their career. And because of that, that courage, right, to be an entrepreneur and to step outside has paid off for them in one way or another. And seems as if you've done the same, right? You didn't start as a traditional project manager, but you found your way there, and then you took the initiative to run the surveys, and you were rewarded for that. And then you started your own company, and you're rewarded for that. And now the PMO Global Alliance. What do you think is it that gives you that courage to take the risk, right? For those listening, and they're sitting there saying, "Man, I've got a great idea." What do we tell them? How do we give them the confidence to be able to go chase that idea and see what they can do with it?
Well, Joey, the point is, first you need some megalomania. I'm a little megalomaniac. People say that. If I have to do something, I want to be intergalactical. That's what I usually want. But in fact, your point is very important because I'm from Brazil, and as Brazil, there are many other countries in the Middle East and East Europe, Latin America. We are not in the spotlight usually, right? So big international initiatives on project management, usually they don't start in these regions. Usually they start in North America, Western Europe, So it's not easy for us because of many items. For example, the language, the currency, right? Usually weak compared with euros, with US dollars. The geography doesn't help because sometimes we are, far from the most important centers. So there are many difficulties, I believe. But the point is, it's possible when you have a good idea, a lot of creativity, right? And passion. That's what I really believe. 11 years ago, to be very honest with you, I couldn't speak English. I couldn't understand nothing. It was crazy. I speak a lot today, that, yeah. Right? But I attended the PMI Leadership Masterclass in 2010, right? And people, they thought that I was shy because I was very quiet, but not because I'm quiet, because I couldn't speak. English was difficult for me because my generation in Brazil, English was not something really common, except for the richest people. So actually, everything was very difficult at that time. But there was one person that was very important in my life. That was Ginger Levin. Ginger, I met Ginger for the first time in 29, I think, when I brought her to Brazil for a conference. And we became very, very good friends. And Ginger told me, Americo, you have to try, And I said, but Ginger, I can speak, I can understand some people because of the accents. And she said, go, start your PhD and present, at the conferences. And I said, okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to do that. And that's what I did. And it's crazy how it worked, So today, I feel that I still have a lot of this feeling, this strong feeling that if we want, if we try, if we believe, it's really possible. See, 4 years ago, PMO Global Alliance didn't exist, and today we have a global community with 12,000 members in more than 120 countries. We have the most important awards in the world, for PMOs, everything in 3 years. And if you see how much money we spent, it's almost nothing if we compare, with the investment that we have in big companies. No, actually, it was based on passion, on collaboration, on the contribution of many people, volunteers, and on the belief that we can make big things, great things that can impact a lot of people around the world when we have a good idea and a lot of passion. I'm really proud about what we have been doing, what we have been building. I had a big company. My company became a big consulting company in Latin America with 500 employees, and I decided to sell the company to focus on this project that it's something global, something that I never imagined that I could do in my life. And today I'm here, right? And as you said, I have friends everywhere, and it's crazy, right? It's crazy. It's really nice. I really love it.
Well, it is an amazing contribution that you've made, and obviously the impact that it's had around the world as well. And I think, if I'm remembering right, I'm trying to go off memory, I think I had read somewhere you're trying to learn Arabic. Is that correct? Is there another language you're trying to learn?
Yes. Actually, I after overcoming, the first my first difficulties. Of course, I'm far from being native in English, but I can make. I say that I can make jokes in English. That's something good, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so. And now I'm very interested to know more about not exactly only other languages, but I'm really amazed about culture, the global culture, other countries' culture. It's incredible how people, they are different in some way, but we have many things in common, And when we know more about them, about their local culture, about their language, it's something that brings to me a very strong feeling that I'm learning, from the world, that I'm doing something that can make the difference in my life. And what really makes me happy, I have two kids. The older is 11 years old. But when I spend some time with him before going to bed, we are in the bed together. I stay there with him for some minutes, and I start to tell him about these things, So, for example, we were watching videos about Arabic language, and now he is very happy because he knows how to say some words in Arabic, and he knows about the history and some specific topics, And I told him about many different places, places like Iceland, one place that I love. I've already been there 2 times, and many other places around the world, and it's a pleasure for me because one thing that I figure out that I released in the last 2 years is that nothing that we are doing today will stay in this world for a long time. Companies, books, absolutely nothing. In 10 years, nothing will be here. Possibly in 4 years, nobody will remember us, except our family. But our kids are the way that we have to leave a legacy, And for me, that was something that made a lot of difference in my life when I realized that, So that's something that really made me happy, and proud.
Yeah, and I think I've started up with Fatima, the PMO leader. We've talked about that in the past, and I've had some of those similar learnings, right? Where I've now been talking with people around the world, and I'm learning how little I know compared to what knowledge exists globally.
Yeah,
and how we can learn from those different cultures and things that we don't consider. Here in the States, we don't think about global sanctions to be able to do financial transactions. But if you talk with folks in Iran and we remove the political stuff because we're just people and we're just trying to work projects, they can't do a PayPal transaction because there's global sanctions on the country. And how does a project, if we're trying to make project management better, how can they procure and how can they go around to get the services and goods? So the initiation of us to do the PMO leader is really the PMO Global Alliance, right? You started the mindset that it's okay to build global communities in our industry beyond just PMI and some of the other associations that are out there. So you're kind of the as much as maybe Ginger or Paul influenced you with some mentoring, you're providing that to folks like me and others in the industry to give us the initiative to go forth and start collaborative type work that you're doing. So your legacy won't be just with your children; it'll also be with the others that you're influenced and that you're mentoring along the way.
Yeah, it's true, and again, we can, when we really want and believe. I think we can make things that can really impact a lot of people. It's incredible how far we can go. Even with many difficulties. Internet help us a lot with that today.
Absolutely. You had mentioned, obviously, with the Global Alliance that you guys do several projects, and one of those projects was to generate the PMO value ring, I believe, right? That was the collaborative work of the community. And there really, if we think the PMP, right, and then we translate that over to the PMO, there you say, well, what's there, right? If I'm a PMO leader, what's my certification that says I know what I'm doing in that role? And there has forever been a gap, but you're working to try to fill that gap, right? With the value ring and some of your certifications.
Yes, that's something interesting because first of all, I fully believe that our role in this world is to be complementary in many different ways. So we are not like PMI, not like IPMA or any other organization. We are here to support them in a specific niche, because they are very big. The world is very big. So our audience is important, PMOs, but of course it's a tiny audience compared with project management audience. Mm-hmm. But it still exists, and it still needs a lot of specific, solutions and things and knowledge. So that's why I decided to focus on PMOs like you, your community. The second point is the fact that our name is PMO Global Alliance, and it's not a coincidence. It's because I believe that we should be an alliance of many communities. To be very honest, I don't believe a lot on the idea of one community, because I think it provides a wrong point of view about what a community should be. Communities, they should be local again, and it's very important that we can act as a hub. We can connect them, because that's the challenge. There are great people doing incredible job in Indonesia or in the Emirates or in Australia or in Honduras, but they don't know each other. How can we help them to spread these great ideas, spread this great work, this great knowledge around the world? And that's what I would like to do. That's my vision for PMO Global Alliance. We should be an alliance of communities. That's what I believe. And so the PMO Value Ring methodology was our first project. Actually, it was created before PMO Global Alliance, but it was exactly this project, this methodology was developed collaboratively with a group of 122 PMO leaders, experienced PMO leaders in different countries. So it provides a very interesting point of view that comes from the trenches, So it's something that people usually they feel that it's something very practical because it comes from the battlefield. People that are leaving PMOs in their day by day, and the point is this well-succeed experience showed me that it would be possible to make greater things, greater projects like the PMO Global Awards, that I could count with the collaboration of many people around the world. The PMO Value Ring methodology made us create our certification program. And it's something really, really incredible, because in 3 years, less than 4 years, we reached 5,000 credential holders in 86 countries. And if you ask me, Americo, have you ever paid for advertisement I will tell you, never. Any cent, never. Everything was based on a word-of-mouth marketing. Mm-hmm. So look at power, of the community, how things can spread, around the world in a crazy way. So when you see, wow, now people are believing on the same ideas, on the same, the same knowledge, or they are sharing experience around the world. So that's how things started with the PMO value ring methodology, with the PMO-CP certification. Now we are releasing next month the PMO-CC certification. It's something for consultants, and that's something that it's not only a certification, but it's a way to help consultants, especially independent consultants, to make business. Because that's the challenge. I know that. I'm a consultant too, right?
Yeah.
We are great, technically speaking, but selling, making business, finding clients, that's the challenge, So how can we help them? That's what I want to do, That's our next step, I think.
Yeah, and that's the other part is it's hard to say next for you because you're still so young, right, with the Global Alliance, but it shows to the testament of the progress you've been able to make. But we don't have that place to call home in the PMO world, right? Like a PMI.
No, so I agree.
So I think that you had said everything spread word of mouth because there was such a strong desire to have an organization out there put forth stuff for us as an industry to be able to latch onto, because there wasn't anything. And running a PMO, as you know and I know, right, is very different than running a project. It's completely different exercise. So there wasn't anything to help us. So it's great to be able to see the community rally around the thought, the idea that you had, and then participate, right? Because that's the other part is, it doesn't matter if you have 12,000 members if nobody participates, right? Yeah. But you get the awards that shows the participation, the different software vendors now that you're recognizing as well this year, and the influencers. So you're really stepping into a gap in the industry that the industry has reacted to and responded to. And I think that's the magic that you guys have put in place, is that it's a reciprocal relationship, right? It's not just one direction. It's helping both parts of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's something very important because, for example, when we say that in the PMO Global Awards that those are the best softwares in the world, the star is not PMO Global Alliance. The stars are our members, our community. They are the star, and why? Because those software, they are the best because the community is saying that. You know what I'm saying? It's not because I'm saying that or PMO Global Alliance is saying that. The community is, the people they are the heart, of the community, and that's something very strong. That's why in our PMO Global Awards, in the PMO category, we have almost 500 judges in the judging committee. Mm-hmm. I remember when I started with that, many people criticized this idea. No, come on, it doesn't make sense. 500 people, no. You should have, 10 experts, 20 experts. No. The idea is that we have to listen to the voice of the people, So we have 500 experienced people helping us to say which are the best PMOs, which are the most important influencers, PMO leaders, software. It's the voice of the people. It's the voice of the community, and it's something very powerful. I really believe in that, and who can say that it's not fair, that company or that person was appointed as the winner if there are 500 people saying that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And today I've already seen many people trying to do trying a similar approach, and I'm happy with that because where people see imitation, I see validation. I see that people are saying, yes, you are doing a great job, and we are always one step ahead, right? I'm sure about that. We are always one step ahead, and it's something that will become stronger and stronger in the next years as we can improve our structure, improve everything, and make the community, more well prepared to the next steps. So I think it's a matter of time that something big is being built. I feel that. You know?
Well, it's certainly, starting the PMO leader, I can say we're an imitation as a form of flattery. And then we recognize in the PMO leader what you guys do well. There's no need for us to do, right? Well, we're not going to have an awards competition because you guys, and hey, I'm a judge in that awards competition, so I know how well it runs. There's no need for another one, right? We would never want to do that because you already have the premier awards for it. So for us, we're I guess the PMO leader would be an offshoot, right? A child almost of what you guys have created, but we still recognize within our industry there are certain things that you don't have to imitate because it's already the premier thing.
Yes.
Now, COVID obviously is the part of the world, right? For the past year and a half, it's been ongoing, and I know you've been impacted by that as well. And the global awards last year went virtual, right? The conference. How about this year? Is the conference virtual again, or will it be in person? What can you share about the conference?
Yes, we have good news about that, right? So actually, in the first 2 years of our competition, the ceremony was in London. So last year, it was fully online because of the pandemic. But this year, we are resuming our in-person ceremony. It will be a gala ceremony that will be held in Vilnius, Lithuania, in November 11th. In fact, there will be a very interesting conference in Lithuania at this time. And I know a lot of people in Lithuania. I've already been there 2 times, actually, invited by PMI Lithuania. And they were organizing this event in Vilnius. Vilnius is a lovely city. I don't know if you have already been there, but it's a really nice city. And when I saw that, I said, oops, that's the opportunity, So I talked to them, and last week we decided to go ahead with this idea. And the ceremony will be held in Vilnius, Lithuania, and will be also broadcast to the world. So I think we will have a very, very nice time in Lithuania in November. Of course, if something changes in terms of of the pandemic, it's possible that we need to review that. But I hope that things will be a little better by November, and we will be able to meet in Vilnius.
My heritage is from Poland, which is next door to Lithuania. So just saying, if I make it to the final 3, I may want to go to the conference and then go visit my homeland afterwards while I'm there.
Poland is great. I've already been there too. It's a beautiful place. Beautiful place. You should go.
So we talked a lot about the past, right, and the current. What you did and what's going on now. But what do you think's next, right? There's certainly been this movement towards PMOs providing value, right? And being less administrative and more value-driven or more strategically aligned. What do you see from all the input you get from around the world for what the next generation PMO will be like?
Yes. I've been studying with a group. We have been studying the PMOs that actually not only the winners, but like the top 10 PMOs that we had in the last edition of the PMO Global Awards. And there are also some very, mature PMOs that we know because we have some kind of contact there, judges, and volunteers. We have been trying to find, some things that we could say that they have in common, Mm-hmm. And that's not something really easy to be done because PMOs are very different, So they should be very different, right? So the point is, how can we say that they have something in common? Usually, people try to identify technical stuff, but technical stuff, it's not the most important thing because sometimes you are maybe more focused on being agile. The other PMO is focused on benefit management. The other one is focused on methodology. Okay, it's not a problem at all if you are delivering value. If you are meeting expectations, no problem. But there is a point that we could identify, and it's interesting because it's very connected with what we created with the PMO value ring methodology a few years ago. So now we are validating some points of view. And this thing is that PMOs survived for a long time focusing on technical stuff. So they live it to deliver a good methodology, a good portfolio management process, and train people. And okay, these things are important, no doubt about it. But sometimes we see very mature PMOs that are not being recognized by their organizations. So what I'm saying is they are doing a great job, technically speaking, but people don't see the value, They don't think that it really worth it. So the point is, there is a feeling that, we are doing a very beautiful job, and nobody recognizes what we are doing. That's something very frustrating, and we see that in many PMOs. There is a PMO that was one of the finalists 2 years ago, and 5 months after being the finalist of our global competition, the PMO was shut down.
Wow.
It's crazy, It's crazy because they were doing a great job. So we started to study this kind of behavior, and we found that maturity is important, technical stuff is important, but the most important thing is alignment. You should be aligned with the real expectations, with the real needs, with the real pains of your customers, of your stakeholders, of your company, right? Sometimes you are doing a great job, but it's not what you should do. It's like a doctor that he's prescribing a great medicine, but you are not sick, about you know what I'm saying? It's a great medicine, but it's not for you because you are not sick, and so you are not healed by that medicine. That's not what you need. And that's what happens. That there is something, Joey, that I read in many articles and books, for example, that a lack of sponsorship is one of the most important reasons for PMO failure. I disagree, totally disagree, because usually if you are an existing PMO, so your PMO is running, and you are losing sponsorship, it's not the reason of your failure. It's not the cause of your failure. It's the consequence. It's the evidence that you are failing. And why? Because how you dare, to be recognized if you can't generate perception of value to the executives? Of course, you will lose sponsorship and you will fail, but not because you lost sponsorship, but because you couldn't deliver perception of value for them. So I'm sorry, but you don't deserve sponsorship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's something that we learned from this world-class PMOs, and this switch from the technical stuff focus to a people focus, a customer focus. It's something really, really strong in these PMOs. If you want to be recognized, if you want to generate value, perception of value, and if you want to survive and thrive, you have to be perceived as something that is really useful. You have to deliver expectations. That is what I believe today.
Yeah, I've told the story a few times on the show in the past of my first PMO I ever ran. I went in for my performance review, and my boss asked me how I thought I was doing leading the PMO. And I said, we are killing it. We are doing an awesome job. Our audit scores are fantastic. We are delivering every gate when we're supposed to. We're just doing a perfect job. And I asked him, I said, how do you think I'm doing? And he said, I think you're doing horrible because you haven't delivered on any of the value that we expected, right? It was outcomes over audits, and we were focused on audits before outcomes. And so I can validate what you're saying just from my own personal experience, and that helped lead to, with the PMO squad, right? We had built purpose-driven PMO because, again, it's if you don't know your purpose up front, if you don't have that alignment with your executives, and they're expecting value delivery or strategic delivery, and you're focused on your point to the technical components, you may think you have the best PMO in the world, but you're going to fail to meet expectations.
Yeah.
So I think it's to get that mindset validated by some of the best PMOs in the world, I think is a testament to where we're headed, right? Certainly the ability of a global community to come together to be able to find trends and share that with the industry so that we can all benefit from that. That, again, speaks to the outcome of the global community, right? It isn't about just holding an awards competition. It's have an awards competition and that what can we share with the community to make the community better, right? I think that's tremendous value that you guys provide out there to all of us.
Yes. And look, it's important because sometimes more important than focus on the project management technical stuff, being prepared for an outstanding customer service is what will make the difference for a PMO. And it's a different field of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So usually PMO people, they are experts on project management, but PMOs are very related. PMOs are service providers, So we need to know how to sell what we are doing. We need to know how to understand our customers. We need to know that sometimes we know that they need a Ferrari, but they can't drive a Ferrari because they don't have maturity. They are children. You know what I'm saying? And if you give the keys to the children, it's not a good idea, right? And sometimes they can't see the value of what you are doing. Not because they don't need it, but because they can't see that yet, because they are children. If you give a Ferrari toy to a 5-year-old child, a Ferrari, a toy, and a real Ferrari, probably the child will say, oh, I prefer the toy. But we know the value of a real Ferrari. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But he or she is not prepared yet to understand that. So look, it's customer service. It's not project management. So it's a new field that we have to learn. You have to develop ourselves, and PMOs will have much better results with that. That's something that I want to invite some people in our community to start working on. I think that project management, we already have many great sources of knowledge, with PMI and other organizations, but how we should connect what we are doing with other fields like customer service, like marketing. There are many, many interesting connections that we can create, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And as a judge in the Global Awards, one thing that I always score very highly for the PMOs when they present is when they have their customers speak on behalf of the PMO. When their customer says, here's what the PMO did for me, rather than the PMO manager saying, this is what I did for my customer, right? If you truly delivered that value, they'd be willing to come speak on your behalf to be able to demonstrate that. And a lot of the best winners that have been there over the years, I think Ukraine did that last year, right? They had a lot of their presenters be the business talking about how well the business was interacting with the PMO. So I
Sure.
agree. And coming up on one of our upcoming shows, we have Tim Creasy from ProSci, Change Management, on the COO of that, going to talk about that. So I agree with you. He's our next show coming up in the first week of September. So yes, we have to bring in these other disciplines to be able to show that we can learn. We don't have to know it all right now. We can mature and evolve as an industry as well. But here we are. We are coming up on time. And as always, the shows go by so fast. And Americo, thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit about your story. Before we say goodbye, are there any last items that you want to mention that we didn't cover today? And also, how can people get in touch with you if they want to follow up and learn more about the PMO Global Alliance or see how they can contribute in any way?
Great. So first of all, thank you very much, Joey, for inviting me. Congrats on your great job, your initiatives. So I'm really happy to see everything going well. So PMO Global Alliance is easy to find us. PMOGA.org is our website. So you can become a member. We have different types of membership, but we also have a free membership because we want to ensure that everyone can participate. There are many engagement opportunities. They are also available at the website. We have great projects, research, events, the awards, many new projects coming. So if you want to engage, there will be a lot of opportunities in the next years. If you want in some way to help us, right, locally in your country, it will be very welcome. We have some initiatives on this objective right now, and that's it. If you want to certificate on PMOs, I suggest the PMO-CP, Certified Practitioner. If you are a consultant, I suggest that you know more about the PMO-CC certification. It's a great job, and I'm sure you feel very well impressed with what you will learn and what you will find in terms of value. And that's it. Finally, I would say, believe in your dreams. You can really conquer the galaxy if you want, right? So if I could, you can. I assure you that, right? Thank you, Joey. Thank you, all of you that are watching us. It was a great pleasure.
Well, I love that. If I could, then you can. That's a great takeaway from this entire talk. So thank you, Americo. And of course, thank you to all of our listeners. Please be sure to visit projectmanagementofficehours.com to check out this show recording and all of the past shows we've had. Our upcoming guests, all-star lineup continues. As I mentioned, Tim Creasy, Chief Operating Officer from ProSci, coming up next. We follow that up with Marissa Silva, also a member of PMO Global Alliance on, I think, the advisory committee. Ricardo Vargas coming up after Marissa. And then we talk with the folks at TrackVia, who are partnering with PMI on the Citizen Developer Program. So lots of great conversations coming up. A reminder, of course, that these shows are recorded. We're live right now, but they are recorded and we release them as a podcast. So please subscribe to Project Management Office Hours, the podcast on Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, whatever your platform of choice may be. Thank you to our sponsors, the PMO Squad and the PMO Leader. That's it for now. Office hours are closed. Until next time, I'm PMO Joe, and you've been listening to Project Management Office Hours.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Project Management Office Hours with PMO Joe. You're not alone in your project management journey. We're here to help you achieve your goals. Subscribe to Project Management Office Hours on your favorite podcast platform to catch all of our episodes and hear industry leaders share their story and secrets to success.